And welcome to Color Our Ocean Week. My name's Purple Pelican, aka Jason. I'll be here behind the scenes as well as in front of the scenes today, where we're going to be learning a little bit more about sharks and fish. Today is what color? It's Blues Day, and it's a little bit blue outside. Looks like it might start raining on us. So remember, you can go ahead and change your Zoom name to your camp code name. You can click on your name in the participant list if you can see it, or you can go into your settings and change it to your camp code name. And today we are on Blues Day, Tuesday. Here we are at 11 a.m. with Sharks and Fish with Mote Marine Laboratory and Aquarium here in Sarasota, Florida. And don't forget that we are doing a bingo baker. You can find the link into the chat space there, or you can go into the Google Classroom and find it too. You can print it out and play it, or play online if you got a second screen. And anytime I say the word or it appears up on screen, you can put a little X on your bingo or fingo card, and you can play across, down, or diagonally. And yes, we are coming to you live from the shark habitat here at Mote. Everyone give me a thumbs up if you can see and hear me okay. Yeah, I got to see a lot of that. Excellent. So yeah, my name is Jason, aka Purple Pelican, and we're going to go ahead and dive into this really cool space that we have here at Mote in just a moment. And let me go ahead and move my camera angle over so that you can get a better look at exactly what I'm talking about. This is our 135,000 gallon shark habitat here at Mote. Now, for centuries, mariners and landlubbers alike feared sharks and considered them mindless eating machines. Sharks were avoided or even hunted and killed. Well into the 20th century, little was known about sharks and few people wanted to get close enough to learn more. However, important research during the past half century has revealed the complexity of these fascinating animals. And ongoing shark studies like those here at Mote can even help us understand human biology and the environment we all share. And so here we are at our aquarium getting started for our program. And as I said, we're coming to you from a place just across the state in Sarasota, Florida. Let me go ahead and show you again on my map exactly where I'm broadcasting from. Right down here on City Island, where it is kind of a overcast day. Winds are about 10 miles per hour, and we got a 20% chance of rain in the next hour. So we'll keep an eye on the weather and see how it's going. But type into the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And the neat thing about Mote is that it is a marine research laboratory, in addition to being a public aquarium. And we were founded over 70 years ago by a really remarkable scientist. Her name was Dr. Eugenie Clark. She was one of the first scientists to study sharks in a serious kind of way. And she became famous for her shark research, so much so that they renamed or nicknamed her Shark Lady. And I put some cool links into the Google Classroom where you can find out more about the life, times, and science of this remarkable scientist. You can even check out her science notebooks and see what kind of nature drawings she did to document her research. And we continue her legacy of shark research to this day. We have something called the Sharks and Rays Conservation and Research Program. Now take a look at that animal that's in there, the black and white spotted animal. Does anyone recognize that? Type into the chat if you know what it is. You know how to type into the chat, let me know. And I see a couple of answers coming on up. Yeah, Blue Manatee says a stingray. We've got folks tuning in from Fort Lauderdale, Nicaragua. A spotted stingray says pink flamingo. Ray says neon armadillo. All good answers. And yes, this is actually what we call a spotted eagle ray. And that's one of the animals that's closely related to sharks. And we'll learn a little bit more about those in just a moment. And so here at Mote, we have a couple of scientists that study these animals, and this is the guy who's in charge of it. This is Dr. Damian Chapman. He's the senior scientist and director of Mote's Shark Center, or the Center for Shark Research at Mote. And the neat thing what Dr. Damian does is he not only studies sharks out in nature, he also protects them using computers. He's part of what's called the Global Fin Print Project. And they actually have this program called Global Fin Print, where they lower down these shark selfie stations. They actually videotape sharks in their natural environment where they live, in their habitats. And then they analyze that video to try to figure out what kind of sharks are living there, how many of them. Remember, yesterday we talked about richness and abundance. Those are two key important factors when studying the ocean. We want to know how many animals are out there, but we also want to know how many kinds of animals are there. So Dr. Damian Chapman is studying that. He's looking to see, are there a lot of tiger sharks in this area? Are there a lot of reef sharks? Are there a lot of woebegone sharks or carpet sharks? That's the kind of thing that he's analyzing with those videos. And he's not alone out there. He's got a few friends that help him along the way, including this scientist here, and this is Dr. Carl Luer. But instead of studying sharks out in nature, what he is studying skates, a relative of the sharks and stingrays. These animals he studies in the laboratory for what we call marine biomedical research. We know that these animals are naturally good at healing and resisting cancer and other infections. So we're hoping by studying sharks like these and their relatives at the molecular level, we could actually provide insight not only into marine ecology, but also into human health. Maybe you've heard the claim that sharks don't get cancer. Well, that's not entirely true. They do get sick, but they don't seem to get sick as frequently as other animals, especially humans. And so what Dr. Luer is doing is he's studying these animals to see if he can apply what he's learned to human health. That's pretty cool. And I put another link in the Google Classroom today to more of our shark research program. So if you want to check that out, it's an interactive exhibit, and you don't have to grab the code right now. You can check that out later after the program. All right, this is the area that we're looking at right here, our shark habitat. So this is a nice diagram of it. And we've got two sections to it. We've got a deep end, which is about 13 feet deep. And then behind me is a shallow pool that you can actually step in. It only goes up to about your waist. And we're going to be diving into both sections today to learn more about it. And then back there, it's kind of hard to see, but we have some underwater viewing windows as well. So guests who come and visit us can see sharks not only from up top, but they can go down below as well. And as I mentioned yesterday, this tank here is 135,000 gallons, but at the new Mote Science Education Aquarium I talked about yesterday, this will actually become 400,000 gallons. And we got a couple of different shark species in here. The smaller one is called a blacknose shark, and it's not real big. It's about, well, about as long as you, maybe a little bit shorter. And you can tell it's a blacknose shark because it has a little black smudge on its nose. And then we have another kind of shark in here called the sandbar shark. And the way that we work with these animals is actually what we do is something called target training. So what we do is we actually lower different kinds of targets down into the water. This one's a yellow and black. What shape is that? A yellow and black circle? Triangle? This one's a rectangle. And these yellow and black bars are a cue to the blacknose shark when we put this down into the water that they need to come up to this special designation, this special target to get their food reward. And so that's something that Dr. Clark learned when she was studying sharks. She learned that they were relatively smart, like a rat or a rabbit. And she actually trained a pair of lemon sharks to come up to a white target that was in their sea pen and ring a little dinner bell. And when they learned to do that, they would get a little food reward. And she had two of them, a male and a female. And the female one must have been especially sharp and intelligent because she figured out that she could get the male to go ring the target and she would already be stationed to get the food first. So sharks are relatively smart. And so we have these blacknose sharks that go up to this yellow and black target. And you can see that they like to eat little bony fish and also cephalopods. You know what a cephalopod is? Well, we're going to learn a little bit more about that on Purple's Day, which is on Thursday, but that's a type of mollusk. Things like squid, octopus, and nautilus are in the group cephalopod. And then the other bigger shark that we have in here is the sandbar shark. And what shape is its target? Is it a circle, a rectangle? That looks like a triangle to me, 3 sides, and it's a blue and black striped target. And this is the biggest shark that we have in our habitat. Let's see if we can find one swimming on by here. And you'll notice that we have lots of other fish from the Gulf of Mexico as well. That's a red drum swimming on by. But I'll keep checking in with the camera to see if we can see some of our sharks swimming on by, and I'll share those images with you. And then we have one more species of shark. Down at the bottom is the nurse shark. And this shark kind of gives the exception to the rule. A lot of people think that sharks have to swim all the time in order to breathe. That's not entirely true. As you can see here, this shark can actually lay down at the bottom of the habitat and actively pump water over its gills in order to breathe. So not all sharks have to swim continuously in order to breathe. That's not true of all sharks. As you can see with the nurse shark here, or the carpet shark, they can rest at the bottom. And this is kind of cool too, because what we can do is do some special training with the nurse shark because they can kind of station in place. We have a white and black circle that we use. It's over on the other side. But we use a white and black circle to train those nurse sharks. And they can actually come up to the side of the habitat right here and actually just station right here and just kind of hang out without having to swim around all the time. The blacknose shark and the sandbar shark, they're continuously swimming around the habitat. Oh, and there is a nurse shark hanging out right there at the bottom. Take a look at that. That kind of black blob that you see there, that's a actual nurse shark down there at the bottom, proving what I was talking about. And that's a tarpon swimming over top of them. Cool. And so there's lots of different animals in this habitat. There's that sandbar shark I was talking about, the largest shark in this habitat. And we also have some Atlantic stingrays in here. And one of you was wondering, what's the difference between a manta ray and a stingray? Well, if you remember that picture of that black and white stingray we saw in the boat, that's a close relative of the manta ray. And those are what we call pelagic rays. That means that they swim continuously. They don't rest at the bottom of the ocean. Stingrays and skates and similar kinds of animals, like a tarfish, kind of hang out at the bottom of the ocean, and they can swim up off the bottom, but usually they kind of hide underneath the sand. Whereas manta rays and eagle rays can actually swim continuously up off the ground. They're kind of rather graceful, in fact. All right, so what I want to do now is simulate a shark feeding and training session. Remember, I told you that the sharks come up to those targets in order to feed. Well, we're going to pretend that that's happening today. Now, normally what happens is on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, around 10:30, our aquarium biologists actually come out here and dole out big gobs of seafood to our fish in the habitat. But they want to make sure that they reduce competition and that all of the sharks in the habitat also get food. Surprisingly enough, the sharks can actually lose their lunch to all the faster swimming fish that are in this habitat. And so what we do is actually use these targets to make sure that each of these fish get exactly what they need each time we feed them. So this is what it looks like when it happens on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Our aquarium biologists come out and they take a couple of handfuls of big ooey gooey seafood and dump it into the habitat for what's called a broadcast feed. And what this does is get all the larger fish filled up real fast, like the crevalle jack and the tarpon, the ones that would sneak a snack away from the sharks if we didn't do this. And then what we do is use those targets, as I said. Our biologists train our sharks to feed at these stations. We learned that this blue and black triangle is the large target for the sandbar shark, and the yellow and black rectangle is for the smaller sharks, but Here's a quick quiz, and I'm going to try to do this as a poll as well in our Zoom chat. So let's see if I can get this to come up this time. Boop, 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 boop. You ready? You can click on this in just a moment. Let's go ahead and launch this, and I'll ask you, why do we train our sharks using targets? Do you think it's 1, to not bite people, 2, to learn to teach them how to feed in nature, 3, to entertain the other fish, or 4, to check their health? Go ahead, and if the poll has popped up for you, go ahead and click on it in the Zoom. Let's see what you think. And if you don't see it, that's okay. You can just guess quietly to yourself. And I see a lot of guesses coming in. Mostly folks are guessing how to learn to feed in nature. Is that the best answer? To not bite people, to entertain the other fish? Well, actually, the best answer is this one. To check their health. Yeah, I'm going to end the poll here. There's the results of you all. Most of you guessed to learn how to feed in nature, but most of these sharks are forever friends. They're hanging out here at the aquarium as ambassadors for their species, but really it is in order to check their health. So why is this the case? Well, as you can see here, we've started a feeding and training session. Our biologists have lowered the target into the aquarium, and the sharks have learned that they can swim up to that target to get their favorite food. In this case, this yellow and black rectangle is the target for the smaller blacknose sharks. And when they do that and swim by, then we'll lower the food down to them and they get their tasty food reward. The other neat thing about this is when they swim up to the target, where do you see it located? Is the target down near the bottom? Is it in the middle of the habitat or up near the top? What do you notice about this target? It's up near the top, right? So when the sharks swim by, that's a great opportunity for us to get a good look at them and make sure that they're doing well. It's much easier to bring our veterinarians over to the sharks than to take the sharks out of the habitat and move them across the street to the vet's office. So this is really an opportunity not only for us to feed them, but also to check their health. Now, the other thing that we'll often do is give them a multivitamin. Yeah, so we want to make sure that they have all the supplements that they need. And sometimes we'll sneak in a little multivitamin into the first piece of fish that we feed them to make sure that they're doing really well. And speaking of what we're feeding them, what do we feed them? Let's see if we can answer this quiz. I'm going to try to launch this as another one here. And I kind of gave away the answers to some of them, but let's see how you do with this next one. Stand by. All right. What do we feed our fish? Do you think it's our sharks rather? Do we feed them the other fish? Do we feed them romaine lettuce? Do we feed them shark chow or high quality seafood?
So many people have their hands raised.
Yeah, we'll get to your questions at the end there. I'm almost done with my presentation. And yeah, so the best answer is high quality seafood, of course. We like to feed them all kinds of things like mackerel, salmon, sardines.
On the quiz, it said shark chow.
And so the best answer is high quality seafood. And that's what we typically feed them. So it's the same kind of food that you would find at a restaurant.
That's what I said.
But when we feed it to them, it has to be frozen first before we bring it into our commissary in the morning. And so then we thaw it out and specially prepare it. And that also gives us an opportunity to sneak in that vitamin C and other supplements that they might need.
Huh?
Go ahead, mute your microphones. Now, if the shark isn't feeling it that day, they don't want to participate in the target training, that's okay. We use a program called positive reinforcement. We never punish the animals if they don't want to do it. If they don't want to swim up to the target, that's okay. And we'll still give them the same amount of food that they would normally get, even if they don't participate in the training. And because of this, we keep very meticulous records on how we care for these animals. And what we've learned is that they don't always feed continuously. In fact, we found that the nurse shark sometimes will go anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks or more without feeding. And we've known that because we keep very good records about how we care for these critters. And so that's part of our feeding and training regime here at Mote, how we take care of these animals. And what we found is that it really helps them out. We also do something called stretcher training, and this is kind of cool. We can actually take a canvas cloth and stretch it out and teach them to swim in and out of it. And this is really important because sometimes we have to move these animals, like, for example, moving them into the new Mote Science Education Aquarium. And by getting them used to coming in and out of the stretcher and being lifted up and put back down, it kind of acclimates to it, gets them used to it. And so they don't get freaked out or worried if it's just the first time that they've ever seen it. All right, so I see we've got quite a few questions in Zoom. So let me go ahead and open it up for some of your questions. Stand by here.
Logan, stop. If they can't, yes, just do it.
Stand by. So anyone who has their camp code name and their hand raised, I can call on you today. Let me switch over here. I'm a one-man show, so it's taking me a little bit longer to get over to you. And we've got Green Manatee. I'm going to ask you to unmute and ask us your question.
How? Why?
Oh, good, Pink Flamingo. You got a bingo. Excellent. Green Manatee, did you have a question for us? All right, we'll go over to Pink Dolphin then. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
So will they get, is it like, I don't know, I forgot.
You forgot.
I don't know what to say.
Say what? What was
Not a question.
What was the question?
Oh, the author of the question.
Oh.
No worries, Pink Dolphin. If you think about it, we'll come back to you. All right, let's go over here to Orange Armadillo. I'm going to ask you to unmute and see if you have your question ready.
Why don't the sharks eat the other fish?
Yeah, why don't these sharks eat the other fish that are in this habitat? That's a great question. And one of the things has to do with that competition that we talked about before. The other fish, like the tarpon and the trevally jack and the drum, they're really fast and healthy. And sharks are what we call cold-blooded. They really don't want to expend any more energy than necessary to catch their favorite food. So out in nature, what often happens is these animals look for weak and injured fish in the population, and they will choose to catch those because they're presumably an easier catch. And it's good news for us too, because it gets those sick and injured fish out of the population and off of our dinner plates too. And because they have that remarkable immune system, they can kind of resist any diseases that the fish might have. And so the other fish in here are so fast and healthy, they can get away from the other sharks. And also, we feed our fish on a regular basis. Our sharks get fed 3 times a week, so they always know that they can get a full belly anytime they need it. So they're not really interested in eating the other fish in our habitat. Good question. All right, we've got just Manatee. I don't know what color you got, but we'll try you out. Manatee?
Uh, oh wait, my microphone's not working. Oh, okay.
I hear you. Go
Uh,
ahead.
uh, what is a canvas cloth?
So a cloth, is something that you can make clothes out of. And have you ever heard of canvas? It's the same thing that we stretch across
Yeah,
to make paintings. And so
yeah.
a cloth made out of canvas is a tough, durable kind of cloth that we can lower down into the habitat and put two poles through it so it turns into a stretcher. And that allows us to lift the sharks up when we need to. And we guide them into the stretcher using that target training. Good question.
Okay, and also, how do you pick your color? I don't know how to.
Oh, so we'll show you. If you go into the camp code name picker, you usually have to look at it. And I think it's the month that you were born in will give you the color, and then your first name will give you your creature. So you go to the first day of class, the stream, and you can see your camp code name picker. And I'll put that back up on the screen in a little while. All right, let's head on over to Neon Armadillo. Are you ready with a question?
Is sharks able to eat jellyfish?
Do sharks eat jellyfish? I think it happens sometimes, but I don't know of any shark that actually seeks out to eat jellyfish. But there are a lot of other ocean creatures out there that do like to eat them. Turtles, for example, sea turtles love to eat jellyfish. I guess they think it's kind of like a spicy taco, right? They're not bothered by the stings. And something neat that I learned, penguins will eat jellyfish too. So will a bird called an albatross. Now, there is a weird thing that one of our sharks likes to eat, and that is the bonnethead shark. None of my cameras can get over to it, but it basically looks like a little miniature hammerhead shark, and it lives in our seagrass beds here in Sarasota Bay and around Florida. And what it does is it likes to eat crabs and shrimp, which live in the seagrass beds. But as it's swimming through and eating those animals, sometimes it gets seagrass in its mouth. And what we've actually learned is this shark can not only get that seagrass in its mouth, it can actually swallow it and get some nutrition from that seagrass. So this is the only shark that we know of that can eat both plants and animals. It actually gets nutrition from the seagrass. It's pretty incredible. All right, you all are doing great. Let's head on over and find another friend to ask a question of. We've got, I think it's purple,
Bingo.
gray pelican, and purple. Is that panther or
Bingo.
parrot? It's kind of small. And I've asked you to unmute, so you'll have to unmute your microphone.
Go ahead.
Do pilotfish clean sharks' teeth?
Do parrotfish clean sharks' teeth?
Pilotfish.
Pirate fish?
Pilot.
Pilot fish. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so sometimes there is a black and white or black and silver striped fish that swims alongside sharks, and they call them pilot fish. I don't know that they actually clean the teeth of the sharks. I'm sure that they would come in there and try to maybe sneak a snack from a shark. They kind of swim alongside the front of it. They kind of follow along what's called the pressure or bow wave of the shark. As the shark swims through the water, it creates a kind of a disturbance that the little pilot fish can get alongside of and make it easier for them to swim. And I suppose that they could sometimes get in and around it, but they don't swim around inside the mouth much to clean the. There is a cleaner fish in our habitat, though. It's really teeny tiny. It's called a neon goby, and they're only about the size of your thumb. They're very teeny tiny fish, and they don't really mess around with the sharks too much. But what they do is they hop onto the other fish that are in our habitat and kind of set up a cleaning station for them. And they will get in and out of the gills and mouth of our grouper, some of our drums and other fish in here. And they will do that kind of cleaning. That's pretty cool.
Oh,
Cool.
a grouper.
Yep. All right, let's go over here to Purple Dolphin. Let's see if you've got a question that we can answer today.
How do you train your sharks to feed at the target?
Yeah, so anytime the shark swims near the target, they get a food reward, and they're smart, so they begin to associate that target with their favorite food. Kind of like if every time you did your homework, you got a food reward, you might start to associate doing homework with your favorite snack. So there are different ways that we can entice the animals over to the targets. And once they begin to associate the shape and the color with their food reward, we usually don't have any trouble getting them to show up whenever it's lowered down. Now, the other thing I wasn't able to show you is that sometimes we ring a dinner bell. In this case, what we do is we take a big piece of PVC pipe and bang it against the side of the habitat, and that creates a big old echoing boom in the water and creates vibrations. And that's a little signal for the fish to look out and find their favorite target first. And that's how we train them. And after they catch on, and they catch on pretty quick, it's really easy to continue on with that. All right, good questions. Let's continue on with a few more before we have to go today. Shiny Gopher. You have any questions for me today?
How long do black-nosed sharks live for?
Yeah, how long do sharks live for, and especially black-nosed sharks? And that's still one of the things we're trying to figure out. It's still a head scratcher for a lot of us. We do know that we can sometimes tell how old a shark is by looking at the spine of the sharks. They have what are called vertebral discs. If you feel on the back of your body, you can see that you have vertebrae or spine. You have bones in the back of your body. Now, sharks, they don't have a mean bone in their body. Does anyone know what their skeletons are built out of? You wiggle your nose or wiggle your ears. It's cartilage. Yeah, cartilage is actually what it is. Same stuff that's in your nose and in your ears. And so their vertebral discs are made out of cartilage, and they're hard enough that we can sometimes find them if the shark passes away, and we can look at them under a microscope and figure out how long the shark has lived. And what we've discovered is that some sharks live for a very long time. The great white shark, for example, we know can live for 70 years or more. And there's even a shark up in Greenland, appropriately enough called the Greenland shark, that can live for over 400 years. It's kind of the world record breaker in terms of how long that these animals can live. So pretty remarkable. Again, we know that the great white sharks can live to be about 70 years old, and the Greenland sharks even longer than that. All right, I want to pause here just for a second before we get back to your questions and show you this. I got a fun little title trivia game in the Google Classroom that's going to be unlocked for you. This is an online game, but you can print out the game board if you want. And you can find that in the Google Classroom posted under Mote's topics for after the show under the Tuesday links. And all the instructions for how to play that are in the program. Now, unfortunately, many sharks out there are not doing so well. We oftentimes will catch sharks, mostly for their fins, but some people will actually eat the meat of sharks. And unfortunately, we're taking more sharks out of the ocean than they can reproduce. And that's not good for them. Overfishing is a real problem for sharks. And so if that's something that's of interest to you, I've got an important resource to share with you. It's called Seafood Watch. This is a really neat website that has a list of sustainable seafood choices. It's put together by our friends over at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And if you're interested in eating seafood, there are ways to consume it sustainably. And that seafoodwatch.org guide is color-coded to help you make the best choices. If it's green, it's a good choice. If it's yellow, you might want to check it out and do a little bit more research. And if it's red, you probably want to avoid it altogether. Something else you can do that's pretty easy is simply to reduce, reuse, and recycle, right? If you're ever near a waterway and you see some trash, pick it up. Take at least 3 pieces of rubbish with you whenever you leave the beach, waterway, or anywhere where you're located, and you can make a difference. We've got a leaf blower going in the background, so hopefully that's not too much of a distraction. Usually it's pretty good echo cancellation, noise cancellation on these mics, but we'll see. And then there's one more thing that you can do to help out. If you do have the ability to help support this kind of research at Mote, what you can do is actually adopt an animal. You can adopt a shark, for example. All the proceeds directly benefit the animals inside the aquarium. You can go to mote.org/adopt to find out more. All right, let's hop on over and answer a few more of your questions. I see Teal Pelican is up next for me. Once I get my little mouse cursor over there. Hang on a second. Where'd you go? Teal pelican. There we go.
Do the sharks ever eat those sardines that are in the habitat?
Actually, it's the other fish that sometimes will sneak a sardines if they're in there. They're called greenbacks. And sometimes the tarpons will sneak one in. The sharks usually leave them alone. They're not too interested in it. Good question. All right, let's head on over to, let's see, we've got, who else is on here? Shiny crab.
What is the most vicious shark?
Say that again for me. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What is the most vicious shark?
Vicious shark? Well, I don't know that there's any shark that's actually vicious. There's no shark out there that's actually evolved or designed to eat humans. There's no one that really wants to bite us. Usually when they do bite people, it's a case of what we call mistaken identity. And maybe we kind of look like their favorite food. Maybe a great white shark mistakes us for a seal or a sea lion. But there is one shark out there that sometimes we do encounter, and it does end badly for us. That's called the bull shark. And the interesting thing about the bull shark is it likes to swim where people like to go in shallow coastal seas. It can even swim into fresh water. And so sometimes we do encounter it, and it can end badly for us. But really, most sharks are very picky about what they like to eat. They're either interested in eating fish or crabs, or they're interested in eating octopus or something like that. All right, my friends, we're going to wrap it up here and come to the end of our program. And so I want to pop this back up onto the top of the stack here and show you that one of our friends was interested in how do they figure out their camp code name. There it is for you. So you find the month that you were born in and then the first letter of your first name. And that's how you can find out your camp code name. And then I just have two more questions for you all. Raise one little flipper if you had learned something new about sharks today. I see a couple of flippers going up and another flipper if you had a little bit of fun. Excellent. And so my challenge to you is to maybe share something new that you learned with a friend or family member who couldn't be here today. Once again, my name is Purple Pelican, coming to you live from Mote Aquarium. Tomorrow we're going to have Red's Day. Wednesday is Red's Day. And so we're going to be learning about crustaceans. What are those? Well, you'll have to tune in to find out more. But in the meantime, thank you so much. And I appreciate all of you. And if you have any feedback, type it into the Google Classroom. Let me know if you have any more questions. Thank you so much.
What is the difference? Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.